Hello and welcome to this video. This is a new thing I'm going to start doing, running this channel. There's a lot of people who watch the channel, they're fans of the channel, but they're also in bands, and in many cases they're in bands that do progressive rock, or perhaps they do jazz or jazz fusion, experimental music, and they send me their CDs and they send me links. And in fact, I get quite inundated by these sorts of messages. But recently, I've been getting sent a number of different CDs from various artists. And so what I would like to do now is to try and get through some of those CDs, tell you about them. If they seem interesting to you, you know, you can go and check them out. And the links will be below in the description for this video. Right, so I'm going to start off with these guys actually. There's a British progressive rock band called Freedom to Glide, and they've been around for about 10 years now, and they've made 4 albums. They approached me recently to say that they had been offered to do a gig at the Prog for Pitt Progressive Rock Festival in the UK, and it was the first live gig they've done. They've always been a studio band, and they wondered if I and my prog compadre, John Jowett, would like to do that gig. So, you know, this was a session gig. You know, I joined it. You know, I didn't actually listen to the material that heavily because I've got to be honest, a lot of modern prog does not float my boat. And these guys are involved with a Pink Floyd tribute band, and I was told that the band are very sort of influenced by Pink Floyd. But I've heard a million bands like that, so you know, I thought, you know, never. So they sent the CDs through, and I started to have learning the songs and the albums they sent through. There's 4, and I haven't got these in order, you know, 'cause I'm not that clever. But this one's called The Chronicle of Stolen Souls. That one there, and I've got Seed. That one there, beautiful artwork, absolutely beautifully presented. These albums, and incredibly produced as well, absolutely brilliantly produced. You can see that, really beautiful albums. We've got this one, which was I wish they put some dates on these things, called Rain, very confusingly, because I have a progressive rock band called Rain. This again, beautifully presented album. And this one, which is called Fall. There we go. Look at this. So I start to learn the material. And this is an experimental prog. It's not like outlandish. There's no loads of mad time signatures or complexity or weirdness. But as I worked on the material, I started to realize that the actual songwriting, and this is a very rare thing in progressive rock, the songwriting is actually very, very strong. And I suddenly found myself singing away some of the tunes on these albums. They're beautifully produced. Andy, who's the guitar player and singer, has got an incredible voice, influenced, I think, a little bit by Sting and the Police. You know, and he's got that sort of the ability to really soar with his voice. And a very, very strong guitarist who, although he's playing within that sort of tradition of Pink Floyd, the sort of Dave Gilmour guitar solos, has a much wider harmonic palette, and I can hear echoes of Alan Holdsworth in. The production's absolutely wonderful. The subject matter's interesting. They seem to have a real interest in the First World War and war itself and history. And so the lyrics are very interesting. So I would like to recommend this band, Freedom to Glide, for you. And I'm now recommending a band that I am in, because after doing the gig and really meeting the guys and seeing how talented they were, and also what lovely blokes they were, me and John and Rob Grocott, my mate, we've all joined the band. So I am now officially a member of Freedom to Glide. So this bit here isn't actually what this is. This is just, it now becomes self-promotion, but it didn't originally. When I got these albums, you know, when I got these albums here, this was, oh my God, I've got advertising going on in the background here. I didn't think that was going to happen. I just wanted the nice ambient, you know, and to do these little things to make it a little bit more entertaining for you. They stick their adverts in the dirty, rotten adverts. I bet you're watching this and thinking, yeah, but you've got adverts coming in handy. It's adverts on top of adverts. Well, anyway, Freedom to Glide, excellent band. If you do like Pink Floyd, or you wish Stephen Wilson wouldn't keep going over towards a sort of electro pop end of the market, if that's your thing in progressive rock fan, go and check them out and spend some time with them, because you need to get to know the songs, right? But I've got 4 more CDs that I'd like to tell you about. These are all fans of the channel. They watch the channel and they've approached me and they've sent me an album, and here I am reviewing it. So I'm in the unenviable position of, because they watch the channel and they're nice people and they've sent me the CD, I really just should say all these CDs are amazing, even if they're rubbish. Well, I'm afraid I'm not going to. I'm going to say what I think, because I think that is the best way to do this, and be honest about it. If you do send me a CD, I'm not going to do review any digital. I'm only going to review the CDs, because then I can hold them up, and talk about them and show you them. And also, I do the vast majority of my listening in the car, and because I'm really old, I don't have any way of playing my iPhone or anything like that, so I can only play CDs. So if you want me to have a proper listen, you need to send it on CD, and then I will give it a listen. If I really don't like it, I just won't feature it on the channel, and you'll know that that's the case. So anything I'm featuring I do really like, but I am going to come up with some, well, let's call it constructive criticism. So the first band I would like to talk about is a band with, on bass, we have, on fretted and fretless basses, we have the great Colin Edwin from Porcupine Tree, who recently appeared on my 30 Greatest Progressive Rock Bands album, where he talked about his band Porcupine Tree. And in sort of that interview, he sent me a couple of CDs over of projects he's got going on now. So his sort of main project, I think, is this, Orc. There we go. Orc. And this album is called Screamnasium, which is like an amalgam of Scream and Gymnasium. So I assume it's somewhere that you would go rather than to do some sort of healthy activity. You would go there to scream. It's a room you just go and scream in. I used to work in that room. Right, so what's this album like? I really enjoyed it. I can tell you what it's like. It's like Soundgarden. That's what it's like. It's very influenced by Soundgarden. Lots of heavy riffs and a singer, and it's a hard thing to do to sound like Chris Cornell. But he does, and he sounds like Soundgarden. So what makes it different to Soundgarden? Well, I felt that there is sort of progressive rock undertones, but not sort of Genesis and ELP creeping in. It's much more a little bit of sort of King Crimson and Japan is there in the background, sort of creeping in. And also Pat Mescolato, who is on drums. It's just some incredible drumming on here. I do love Pat Mescolato's sound. And he's channeling on here, and it's been beautifully done, a sort of 80s drum sound, which sounds like it's going to be horrible, but it's not. It's an interesting drum sound. The soundscapes are interesting, the arrangements of the stuff, but it's very Soundgarden. It's very heavy. Well, not very heavy, but it's heavier than, say, Porcupine Tree. The vocals are incredible. There's some nice guitar playing on there. I really liked it. I thought this was a really good album. What else could I say about it? Lots of skeletons, lots of darkness. Go and check it out. It will be getting pushed in the progressive rock channels, I imagine, because of Pat and Colin being on here. But actually, this is more of a rock album. So if you're a rock fan, which you know I am, and that's why I loved it, and I love Soundgarden. Right, let's get, where should we go next? Let's go. I have got all the styles covered here today. So the next one is proper prog. We're full on prog, and it is this band, Myth of Logic. And this is their first album, I think, which is called Pictures of a Previous Dream. There's another album I've got as well, but this is the one I've had in the car, right? And look how prog that is. When I hold it up, it does that sort of infinite thing. Can you see I'm going on forever, like that Pink Floyd album that's rubbish, Umma Gumma. Look at that. That's incredible, isn't it? Oh, I love that. I don't want to stop now. And it's like it's in a picture frame as well. This has all gone very prog, hasn't it? And I'm sure Scott, who this is the mastermind, Scott Davis, the mastermind behind this, will appreciate that on his album, because this is very prog. This is about as prog as you get. This is prog. You know, it's like if you get the dictionary and look up the word prog, you could just have a picture of this. This is proper prog. Scott Davis, American musician. I recently came across him on a video I did about how British progressive rock bands are better than American prog bands, which of course they are, with another Scott Larday, who runs the brilliant progressive rock channel known as the Prog Corner. Although the other day they did have a bit of a go at me, I must be honest. They did react to me saying that Neil Peart's the most overrated drummer in rock history, which of course he bloody well is, and they didn't like it because they're proggers, so they all came on moaning and put me down, and here I am being all nice about them, and I don't know why I'm doing that, really. We'll see. Scott, don't think you've got away with it. Don't think you got away with it, mate. I might have to do a reaction video to it, you know. I don't know what I'm laughing to myself for. But putting that prejudice aside, Scott Davis has done this album. He must be playing everything on it. There's no credits on here, so I assume he's playing everything on here. And what have we got? What we've got is incredibly well executed neo prog. Scott has mastered a certain sound, which is a sort of very big, it's sort of almost like Mellotron pad keyboard, arpeggiations running through on a sort of Moog synth sound. Lots of on time signatures, and it just, at some points, it did really sound like certain aspects of IQ for me. What makes it different is Scott's vocals, which are very Peter Hamill and very expressive. He's got some good hooks in here. A lot of the tracks do go on for quite a long time. There's lots of arrangement, let us say. There's lots of complexity and weirdness and on time signatures, and there's lots of sort of epic sort of storytelling that runs through all sorts of different avenues. It's a little bit like, you know, traveling through that, you know, valley there. That's all going on, and it doesn't reinvent the wheel. He's not trying to do anything out now. We know this is a guy that loves progressive rock, and this is a labour of love. This is obviously self-produced. The mix is great. It sounds really good. The only issue I have with this, and it's an issue I have with a lot of modern prog, is the drums. The drums are programmed, and the drum sound is sort of your generic rock kit one. I don't even think there's been much programming in terms of the actual. I don't think they've used anything like Superior Drummer or any of these type of retrig. Maybe he has, but if he has gone in and fiddled enough with the dynamics. Every single bass drum is full dynamic, every single snare drum. And I'm a drummer, and I notice this stuff. And so you almost like have this typewriter drumming running all the way through. I haven't listened to the second album to see whether that's been, you know, whether it's improved on that. And it is a shame. And the reason is because these guys that are making this type of music are having to self-produce. And the idea of approaching a drummer, who's this now in the background? Oh, I'm not promoting Disney on my channel. That's the last thing I want to promote. Get off. Oh, yeah, there we are. I put this on for a bit of relaxation. And then they got to try. It's all about selling, isn't it? I'm trying to sell you CDs. I'm trying to sell you adverts on my channel. They're trying to sell you stuff. You know, what are you glued to this nonsense for? Here in the UK, in the 70s, we had a program called Why Don't You? And it used to be on in the summer holidays. Anyone my age will remember it. And it used to start off, and then these kids would say, why don't you switch off your television set and go and do something more important instead? And my mum and dad would come in and said, yeah, switch that television. Chewing gum for the eyes. Get outside. But we don't do it. It's the cathode ray nipple, as described by the great Michael Franti. It's now not a cathode ray nibble, it's a nipple or nibble. We're not nibbling in a cathode ray nibble anymore, are we? Nipple. We're nibbling at a digital nipple. I didn't mean to say nipple so many times in this video, but I have now. And I've lost my thread. Myth of Logic. If you're a progressive rock fan and you like all that neo-prog, and half of you do, it's 100 times better than Marillion because it's got a bit of balls and there's a bit more interesting time signatures. It's a really good album. It's well produced. It sounds great. The drums don't sound bad. But for me, it needs a real drummer. And so you need to go and support Scott, because if you support Scott and you buy all these albums off him now, right, and he's got some money in the bank, when he makes his next album, he will be able to put out the vast cost of hiring a recording studio somewhere, hiring a decent drummer to come in and paying them to play on his album and make it brilliant. Now, he might have done that on the next album, and I haven't listened to it, and I think he's working on a third album. But if he isn't, my suggestion to him is to get a real drummer on. There's lots of drummers that will do it, you know. There's one right here. I'll do it for the right price, you know. But if you want a job done properly, there's Gavin Harrison, isn't there? Craig Blundell, you know, all the proper ones. Right, let's get on to a bit of fusion now. So the next one I've got is another Colin Edwin project. This one's called Fractal Sextet. Here is the album. Now, I'm a jazz fusion guy, and of all the albums I'm showing you today, this was my favourite album. I absolutely love this. This is brilliant. And when I say love, when I heard the first track, which is called Zeptoscope, when that one came on and I first listened to it, I had almost like that feeling of astonishment that you get when I first heard the Mahavishnu Orchestra, all this incredible stuff, because I was bewildered about what was going on. I thought, what the hell is it? Colin had said, oh, I'll send you this one because I know you like your odd-time signatures. Bloody hell, there's some weird odd-time signatures on this, and I could not work out what it was. You're tapping your foot and there's this going over there. Now, this seems to be the brainchild of a guy, might not be, but this is me not knowing anything about it, of a guy called Stefan Thielen. And he plays guitars, EBow, and fractal delays and programming. And I think what he's got is a very complex setup where when he plays, his guitar is delayed in sort of polyrhythmical timings, and he can build up these sort of cross rhythms and polyrhythms, which the band maneuver in. They've got an incredible drummer called Yogev Gabe. Why are all incredible drummers, you know, foreign and from Europe? Where do they, what are they doing out there to breed these insane drummers? If Yogev, if you're watching it, unbelievable drummer, beautiful touch, light, real understanding of the time signatures, never overplaying. And this is essentially jazz. There's another guitar player on here called John Durant, who's playing fretted and fretless guitar playing. This is the sort of modern guitar playing I like. It's not all about the chops. It's much more about the sound. It's exploratory. I felt like these guys were really playing. I don't know whether they play this all at the same time or whether they overdubbed it afterwards. I think, because I haven't read the liner notes, but I think, I did glance at them. I think it was originally going to be an In The Room project, and in the end it wasn't. They had to do it over because of COVID. Yeah, because the drums are recorded in one studio and then something's recorded somewhere else. So they've obviously done it, you know, over the older internet. But you don't feel that. You feel like this is a homogeneous sound. It's very subtle. This is what modern jazz should be like for me. It should be taking these things in. It should be utilizing the instrumentation, the sounds, the effects. This is where I think is always the technology. You could still play jazz, you could still improvise, you could still get into the cracks and really explore stuff. I really like this album. I really like, especially the opening track, Zeptoscope, which just has such a unique groove and such a unique approach to odd times. I'm always fired up by that. This is probably the most difficult of all the albums. It's not avant-garde, it's very beautiful, it's got quite a lot of ambient passages, but this is probably the most difficult. I know you guys are probably going to really go and check this out. So go and check this out, because these sort of albums are difficult to market. That's why we're here. Right, I'm going to end up with this band, which I've been meaning to talk about for many years now. Well, I'd say about a year. One of the people who watch this channel is a drummer called Marco Anderson. And Marco Anderson has been involved with quite a lot of the sort of free improvisation stuff going down in Bristol here in the UK. But he's also a member of the band called Aurora Clara, who have made 4 albums. Now, Aurora Clara are actually a Spanish instrumental jazz fusion band. And what they have done is they create their own music, they write their own stuff, they have their own expression, but it is within the genre of the Mahavishnu Orchestra. So imagine the Mahavishnu Orchestra isn't a band, it's a genre. This is not a tribute, they do not play their tunes, but they play very hot on the sleeve in that style. They made 4 albums. I think the first album's called Dreams. I haven't got that, but I've got the other 2. The first album, Clear Dawn, is absolutely incredible. Here they just come in and they take a spin on the Mahavishnu Orchestra, which does sidestep a little bit for me the darkness of the Mahavishnu Orchestra. We'll get into this in a bit. On the first album and the second album, which is called Transformation, Jerry Goodman appears. And Jerry is just playing unbelievably at the moment, although he seems to have gone very quiet recently. I don't know whether he's having some sort of trouble, but it's such a shame. This is one of the greatest, jazz fusion, jazz musicians of the last 50 years, and he should be out there touring, and we should be all bowing down to him and giving him his due. There's so many musicians that are not getting their due, and Jerry needs to get his due. He's absolutely incredible on these albums. It's wonderful to hear him. I think what's happened since the Mahavishnu Orchestra is his tone. He's really been able to he always had the best tone. He always had this cutting, aggressive rock tone, far more than Jean-Luc Ponty did, or Didier Lockwood, all those. It was raw, and it got rawer and more biting, and now it just sounds incredible. So it's great to hear him on the first 2 albums. Now, I would say, if you're a Mahavishnu Orchestra fan, you need to have these albums because you will love them, and you need to definitely get Clear Dawn. But they've got a new album out, which is called 4. IV. I assume it's called 4 and not just called IV. I like this cover. Someone's got the old green biro out, haven't they? Very pretty. Simple and pretty. Aurora Clara. So the 3 albums I've got, the first one just comes in and goes, this is like the new Mahavishnu Orchestra. This is what we're doing, bang, really, it's in your face. The second one seems to just explore a little bit more the funky end of the Mahavishnu Orchestra, going towards Visions of the Emerald Beyond. This one is exploring the Shakti acoustic side of the Mahavishnu Orchestra a little bit more. Not totally, there's still some burning, jazz fusion on here. This one has on it a flute player called Juan Carlos Arical. Sorry, Juan. And he's playing in this sort of very quite ethnic, Indian sounding flute. Obviously echoes of Hari Prasad Chaudhary. And I felt that there was certain times on this where there's almost like elements of making music. Now, oh, it's advertising again. Who am I advertising now? Bloody... What's his name, that bloke with the glasses? Carr. Something Carr, isn't it? Ian Carr. That's the only Carr I should have on this channel. Ian Carr. Just to balance there. What's going on now? There is some sort of fishing village flying around with their drone. Anyway, shall I get back onto this? I wish I hadn't put this up now. It's punctuated my video with unwarranted intrusions, commercial intrusions, and of course I have to comment on them, don't I? I can't just leave it there like a normal YouTuber, just pass over it, or maybe just edit those bits out. I'll just have to sit there ranting about the very thing that I've set up. But that's the problem in my life there. That's personified there. So this album features this flute player, like I was saying, and there's elements of Making Music, which is an album that John McLaughlin made with Zakir Hussain. It features Hari Prasad Chaudhary on flute. And a lot of people who don't like John McLaughlin and can't get their head around the Mahavishnu Orchestra, I've noticed that is the album they like. It's got an accessible, pretty sound, I think, and it's a wonderful album. And that's what this album has got. There's moments where it's a lot more acoustic and gentle, but there's still some real burning stuff on here. Yeah, so go and check these CDs out. I'm just going to run through these again, so you will know. So there is my new band that I'm in, called Freedom to Glide. Link below. If you like your rock and you like your Soundgarden, you know, peppered with a little bit of sort of 80s prog and interesting noodlings, then Orc is the band for you. Also, if you're a Porcupine Tree fan, I would get that. If you're like you're out there, you know, modern jazz rock fusion, which is exploratory and ambient and has got a lot of electronics and takes its lead as much from modern electronica as it does from, you know, Weather Report, that's the one for you. If you're an out-and-out progger and you love IQ and Marillion and Palace and 12th Night and Pendragon and all those bands, and you've got all the Genesis albums and you just love a good slice of solid prog, get this one. Great album. I've had it in the car. I tell you, if I've got a short attention span when it comes to this sort of prog, and it would have been out the window, but it wasn't. I've had listened to it twice now and I'm enjoying it very much. Great album. And of course, if you're a Mavish Yorkshire fan, a must, you've got to get into Aurora Clara. It's not a tribute band. It is a band, but it just sounds like the Mavish. Of course, what's wrong with that? Nothing's wrong with that, right? So I hope to do this a lot more in the future. I think CDs is the way to go for me. I know it sounds like I'm just trying to get some free CDs, but believe me, the last thing I want in my house is more CDs. You don't see it, but I've got lots and lots. And because I've done music for like 40 years, there's a lot of other bands that have sent me CDs over the years, and they really do need to be all gathered up and stuck in the bin. You know, I've got too many, so I'm not doing it for that. What it is if I get a CD, I can stick it in the car, I can hold it, I can refer to it, I can read the liner notes, and it makes this a lot easier for me to do. So, and also you probably think, oh, but I can't do physical product. I'm going to tell you something. Physical product from us people making weird progressive rock, jazz fusion, whatever you want to call it. I need a name for what I talk about, the music I talk about on this channel. I need a name, a categorical name that ties them all together. But anyway, whatever it should be something like Pronk, maybe. If you could come up with a name for all this, then I will do a whole video on that name. I will launch the name into society, and then it will then, like the sort of viral meme that it will wheel, and everyone will start using it. Then I will have invented my own word for all this type of music, because all this stuff's sort of linked together for me. But the mainstream never does this, and I'm wittering on. Those of you who are artists, if you could get a CD made and you can build a fan base, your fans will buy the CD, because people like to have something they can hold and put on the shelf. And that's coming back, I think. I think people see there's this ephemeral music consumption that you have online, right? And that's always been there. That's like putting the radio on. In the old days, that was like, I'm going to sit and put the radio, what's some music, I'm going to put the radio on. But the real fans, they didn't listen to the radio, they bought the albums, and it's still there. That's still possible. It hasn't really... The internet didn't really kill the music in that. It killed the music because we all wanted it killed. We all wanted free downloads. We all, you know, the record companies wanted to try and maintain, you know, buy one of these things for like £20, you know, $20. And the whole thing is a history there that deserves on another video. Deserves to be on another video. God, really early in the morning. See, the only problem with this setup, I've got this lovely setup now. I've got my light, I've got my TV screen, so I can put stuff on there, and I'm comfortable. But the trouble is, it's like I get up very early in the morning. I don't want to get dressed and go all day down. I'm totally naked from the waist down, but you don't need to know that. And I have to get dressed and go down and get all set up in my studio out in the garden. So this is so much easier. But I keep doing these videos at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and my brain's not quite in gear. I'm gonna have to do maybe, I don't know. Don't talk in front of the camera like this. Just get on with it. Sorry, God, even this I've done it anyway. Was that all right? The bands. Trouble, no one's gonna be watching this video. I know that. No one's gonna be watching this video except the bands. I'm just talking to the bands, the musicians of the band. Hello, Colin. Hello, Scott, Andy. Pete, hello, you all right? Marco, hello. Is that all right? I tried to be fair. Did you enjoy it? You know, tell me if you get any CD sales, you know, because I think there's at least 17 people watch this video, you know. And so if you are one of those people who's watched this video, you are a hardcore Andy Edwards fan. You probably watch anything, or you happen to be a middle-aged person who is open to new music, which is few and far between. But if you want this to work, you need to like it. So like it now, and you need to subscribe. And I've tried to really be as wacky and weird and silly and refer to all my silly adverts to make it as entertaining as I possibly can for you. I've done what I do. I've stammered and stuttered my way, get me words wrong. I've forgotten what I'm doing. All the things you like, I've done all that for you. So these videos, I won't do with a serious face. There will always be a little bit of you know, English entertainment for you, which is always rooted in incompetence, isn't it? So, you know, let's see if we can get this up and going. If I could do one of these a month, then it becomes a great way for artists to put their stuff out there, doesn't it? Yes? We agreed? Good. Thank you. See you on the next video.